Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. A random message just came to my head, so I felt that I was gonna do a video, so whoever resonates with it, it'll resonate with. If right now you feel a connection to somebody, like a strong connection to somebody, but you're divided between logic and emotion as to whether you should reach out to them, instead of spiraling, why don't you make a pros and cons list as to why you're not reaching out to them? Especially if you can't stop thinking about them. If you're losing sleep over this person. And especially if you're constantly feeling an energetic pull towards this person. Maybe you had a falling out. Maybe you did something that you weren't proud of when it came to this person. Or perhaps there was some sort of misunderstanding or miscommunication. Whatever it could be. But you know deep down that there was some unfinished business with them. And there's been a large window of either silence, or you feel that something just wasn't closed out right. And therefore something between you two just doesn't sit right with you. If fear is preventing you from going to this person, because in a text message, we all know when it's our turn to type, right? And it's our turn to communicate. So if you know that it's your turn to reach out to this person, why are you not doing that? If you did something that you're not proud of, okay, that's fine, you're human. You need to internally acknowledge that and act on the possible guilt that you're feeling. Because guilt is what you should be feeling. It's the mechanism that motivates us to correct our wrong, to right our wrong. In this case, it would be to apologize to that person. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and you could be thinking, oh, well, I've waited too long now, and that person has probably built up resentment and is holding a grudge. Well, first of all, are you 100% certain of that? Or is that just a narrative that your fear is creating, perhaps to develop a tendency to procrastinate, to prevent you and protect you from the possible consequences of what you did wrong? We all know that when we do something wrong, there are consequences. Sometimes those consequences are simply suffering from a guilty conscience, which is one of the worst feelings that anybody can ever have. It gives us that terrible feeling in the pit of our stomach. We lose sleep over it. It makes us feel like terrible people. So we know that that in itself can feel like the worst kind of discipline, the worst kind of consequence. However, if you're avoiding altogether wanting to rectify the wrong because you simply don't have the courage, then maybe try to develop the courage. Don't just be satisfied with, well, I'm just going to avoid this altogether, because the more you avoid something, the harder it is to face it. We all know this. Again, it's classic procrastination. But it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then the more time, the more space, the more distance will be between you and this person. And especially if this person means something special to you, probably the more you're going to think about them, the more this desire for them is going to grow, and the more you're going to be kicking yourself for not reaching out, because this person may or may not hold out for you. Because there's going to be a time where everybody has their limits, and especially if this person has self-respect. If they've reached out to you enough, trying to let you know that they want you in their life, there's going to be a time where eventually they're going to stop reaching out. And they're going to go about their life because they know it's your turn to respond. Another thing, how well do you know this person? Is it somebody that you just met? Did you go on one date? Did you meet on a dating app? Or is this somebody that you've known for a while and you know their disposition? You know the type of person that they are. Are they likely to hold a grudge? Are they the type of person to be resentful? Or do you know that if you were just to directly communicate with them, sincerely apologize, explain yourself, that then they're more likely to forgive, forget, and let go? The thing is, you'll never know unless you act. See, we all know if somebody really cares about us through action, not just by speech. Also, like, how have you been communicating with this person? Has it actually been face-to-face, in person, or has it all been through social media? Like, has it been simply through Instagram, texting, emails? Because then that can be a little bit trickier. Because if you've only been communicating with them through a screen, another word for screen is veil. Now, can you really see through a veil 100%? No. So, even if there has been some confusing emails, confusing texts, it's all been done through a screen. So you can't really take it at face value. You can't sense tone. You can't sense a true smile or really see a person's essence through a screen. That's just not possible. You can interpret one single sentence in a text message 1,000 different ways, and it'll mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. So a screen acts as a bit of a haze. We don't really get a full sense of the person themselves. So it wouldn't be right on either side to make like a full judgment or to write off somebody on a person's personality based on what we read through a screen. I don't care what anybody says. And I don't care if we live in a social media world right now. The only way that you can get the best sense of somebody is when you're sitting in front of them face to face. When you can see their micro expressions, when you can look at them in their eyes, when you can see their smile, when you can hear their laugh, when you can see their pain. That's the only way. Yeah, a phone call is better because you can gauge some of those things. You can tell if somebody's smiling, if somebody's laughing. You can hear somebody sigh. You can hear a tremble in somebody's voice. But again, you can't sense any of those things through a screen. It doesn't matter how many emojis somebody puts in a text. And that's where miscommunication can come. So really ask yourself truly, has there been past miscommunication? Have you misjudged this person or misread somebody's words based on a personal bias that you have? How was their health at the time? Were they mentally stable? Were they going through something? These are also things to consider as well. So basically, the long and short of it is, it's your turn to communicate. If you just can't get this person out of your mind, if you know that this person is supposed to be in your life, or you know that you have some unfinished business, if you see them in your story, in your future, that they can make you happy, then you know what you need to do. You need to act. You need to get out of your head. Stop letting fear from holding you back, because the only person that's creating that fear is you. Nobody else is creating that fear. If you are struggling with fear, something that I'm finding with males of this generation, personally, I don't know if any of you are experiencing this as well, and I don't know where they're getting it from, is the fear of, I'm not good enough. Who's telling you that? And first of all, that's not your decision to make. You are good enough to get anybody that you want and to get anything that you want. If anybody tells you otherwise, then great. One less person that you have to deal with in your life. Thank goodness that that person told you early on, so you don't have to waste your time or resources on them. Please know that you are valuable, But don't be cocky. Don't have unhelpful pride. Just simply be confident in knowing that you are a decent human being, that you treat people with respect, and that you are kind and loving. That's it. If you talk to people, talk to them with kindness, tact, and thoughtfulness, and no one will be able to find fault with your speech. Know that you can hold your integrity high. Also know that fear is a type of veil as well. It blocks you from preventing you from getting what you really deserve. It's an illusion. Please know that that's not reality. Remember, even if people in your environment try to threaten you, if they say, oh, if you do this, this is going to happen, or if you don't do this, this is going to happen. That's bullcrap. You know how I know? Because I've been in an abusive situation where that's happened to me, where somebody forbid me to do many things, and I wasn't deep enough yet in the abusive situation to know that it wasn't true. Because each of us is in charge of our own individual domain. Nobody else has control over us. As much as somebody likes to think that they have control over us, they don't. Because each of us has something called free will. And that is not an illusion. That's reality. So if you really want this person back in your life, go get them. Show up with an open and sincere heart. And remember, even if they say no, they're not saying no to you personally. They're simply rejecting the offer that you're posing to them. So learn how to separate the two. Again, they're rejecting your offer. They're not rejecting you as a person. Also, remember, no risk, no reward. I've said that so many times. So go and try to get that reward. Go get it. And do it sooner rather than later. Because I guarantee you, 8 times out of 10, you're going to get that reward. Especially if you go there with open communication, truth, and clarity. So again, reach out. Go for it. I'd be interested in seeing some of the results in the comments, if this resonates with many. So here's the last thing that I'll leave with you. Godspeed. And I wish you all the best. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.